Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to Mass Market Madness. This is a fun series I started on the channel so that I could share some of my favorite affordable tarot and oracle decks. I really like using this series as a way to highlight things that are really easily accessible, that we can get our hands on, but that are still really, really good. And a lot of these end up being sort of unsung heroes. I think that's true of all but maybe one of the decks, maybe two of the decks in my list today. We'll see. But I have a little pile of decks to discuss with you. If you are all about the mass market decks, or if you live in an area where it's really difficult to get indie decks, then I think it's useful to see what's out there in the mass market and readily available from a local bookseller or from your local metaphysical shop or whatever it might be. I like to share some favorites from that area, things that are easy to get online, that sort of thing. I also think it's important because we have an international community to be aware that not everybody has the ability to bring in these indie decks from the US. They might have expensive customs and duties and all that kind of thing. So all of that is a factor, and I like to, yeah, just sort of highlight some little hidden gems in the mass market world. So we're gonna get into it. I want to start off with a tinned deck because I love these tin decks. I think these are so handy. It's a really convenient packaging that you can literally pick up a tin deck, a deck in a tin, and you can toss it into a bag or a backpack and you have really safe, protected cards. This is I think just an absolute delightful deck, and as far as I know, it's not available in full size. I don't know that it's ever going to be available in full size. It was an independent deck originally, and it was a bigger deck. But this is the White Sage Tarot. This is a deck created by Teresa Hutch, and it is published by US Games. Currently on Amazon.com in the US, this deck is going for $17 or so at the time I'm filming this video, so it's pretty affordable, and let's talk about it. So I adore this. Now, I am a big fan of chakras, and this deck does include some associations of the chakras, and in fact, with the deck, you get this pretty chunky little white book that has some decent information in it. It also explains which chakra is associated with which card, which is amazing. And it does that throughout the entire deck. It also gives you this really handy little chakra guide, so you have an idea of what each of the chakras are and what their associated colors and sounds are. And then you also have a little rainbow spread here that you can do that's also chakra based. So if you are even remotely interested in chakras, it's kind of a cool extra layer in this deck. And I don't think you'd know it just looking at the tin. It does mention it on the back of the tin, but I feel like it's a detail you could easily overlook. So that's a super cool thing. So I like to keep those together in the bottom of the tin like that. As the deck itself, it's got such a really gentle, calming energy, and I find that while the minor arcana is quite pippish, it's pippish in a way that I find really nice. And the added chakras give you an extra layer of meaning, particularly if you work with the chakras. So the majors, and these are not in any particular order, the majors are just adorable. This is the Hermit. There's a lot of animal energy in this deck. The Knight of Swords, Seven of Cups, Queen of Swords. Hopefully you'll get the idea there. The Hanged Man. As we get into, so here's a good example. As we get into the minor arcana, you have the Six of Pentacles. So you have the idea of balance. So it's not just random pips on the card. You get the idea of balance, which is part of the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning of the card. And then you have this winding ribbon that goes up, and this ribbon is in yellow. So it is the color of the solar plexus chakra. So you can dig into other layers of meaning by considering how the chakra plays into it. This Six of Cups has this lavender color, so you could look at third eye associations. And the ribbons become really meaningful throughout the deck. Again, we have solar plexus here with the Seven of Wands, but we still have the wand above and the six below, speaking to being on that higher ground or sort of defending oneself against all of this other energy. So the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning, I think, is pretty apparent. Here we have a Four of Wands. We have the usual arrangement of the wands as we would see in the Rider-Waite-Smith, but we have this third eye chakra ribbon going on throughout. So heart chakra for the Two of Cups, you start to have this cool other layer, but you still see the way that the pips are arranged. It's still a nod to the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I just think it's really cleverly done. Here we have the Six of Swords and this gorgeous indigo ribbon here. So you can just really play with this. I think if you're interested in chakra work, I think it could add a neat layer to your readings. But I find that it's just a really well done little deck. It gives a lot of clarity. I always enjoy reaching for it, and it's the most adorable little size. And can we talk about the Fool? I think my hands were up here, sorry. We talk about the Fool as the dog. How perfect is that? And the Queen of Cups is also perfect with her hot mug of tea in the ocean. I love her. This is just, it's great. It's really great. So yeah, I love it. Hopefully my hand wasn't too high up and you got the general gist of what I was saying. But regardless, this is such a great little deck. And at like less than $20, like what a fun, what a fun find. I can't remember how I first found out about the deck, but it charmed the pants off me and I've really, really enjoyed it. And of my tinned decks, it's probably the one I use in my practice the most. So love that little guy. The next deck that I want to talk about is a pair, but we're going to talk about them one at a time. These I keep together because they are fabulous, and they work so well. This is one of Peggy's standard divided bags, which has this little cotton divider in the center of it, so you can have two decks side by side loose, like a tarot and oracle, or you could have like a tarot deck and a cloth or a crystal or something, and you won't have anything like bumping up right against your cards. But I love this because this is paw prints, and I have here the Mystical Cats Tarot by Llewellyn, and on the other side I have the Magical Dogs, and I just think these are excellent, excellent decks. So right now, let's talk about the Mystical Cats first, and we'll go from there. So these are both classic Llewellyn sets. They come with these full-sized guidebooks, which are lovely, and you get tons of information for every single card. What I like about these decks is that, or let's start with this one. What I like about this deck, and they have very similar qualities, but I enjoy that you have all of these wonderful decorative. I enjoy that you have these really beautifully illustrated cats behaving in a cat-like manner. Like, it doesn't feel like it's forced in any way, but you feel like the energy of the Rider-Waite-Smith is very much there. Like here we have the Two of Earth, which is equivalent to the Two of Pentacles, and our cat has two apples balanced on her head, and she looks like super annoyed about it. You can see the Rider-Waite-Smith meaning really clearly. And the quartz are great. And I feel like if you want to connect to cat energy, I feel like it's very present in the artwork, but it also doesn't feel, how do I say this right? Because I have the same thing with the dogs, but it doesn't feel too specific. I don't feel like I'm looking for like a cat I used to have or a friend's cat or, do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm looking at just cat behavior as it's represented in the tarot. This Five of Sea with the cat who's gotten all wet is brilliant. I love it so much. But I don't reach for this deck a lot. I just wanted a cat deck and I wanted a dog deck in my collection, partly for if I do readings for clients and they ask questions about pets. I wanted that available, but also I just, like, this just scratches the itch for any temptation I might have for a cat deck. And it's such a great deck and so well done. I absolutely adore the artwork, and I just feel like the meaning is really present. It's very illustrative. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but it's very descriptive artwork, detailed artwork. The Six of Water is fantastic. I love it so much. All right, so that is the Mystical Cats Tarot. Now, currently on Amazon US, this particular deck is going for $25 US. So really reasonable considering it comes as a boxed set with a nice big book. I haven't spent a ton of time with the book because it reads so well right out of the box, which is true of most Llewellyn decks, I would argue, but it's a really wonderful, wonderful one. And when I feel like I want to work with a cat deck, that is the only one I need. So that is the Mystical Cats. And then the other one, obviously, very similar. This is the Magical Dogs deck. But the artwork to me feels like it has such a similar vibe. So in a similar, whoops, are we upside down? Yes. In a similar way, this feels like dogs being dogs. And it feels like it's full of dog energy and dog behavior, but I don't feel like I'm looking for my dogs in this deck because it feels like a dog tarot. I don't know how else to say this. I have definitely played with other dog themed tarot decks, and none of them have ended up gelling with me. And I think it's because if it's too realistic looking, I'm always looking for my dogs. If I know it's based on real people's dogs, that throws me also. So I just like that these are made up dogs, but there's a wide variety of types and breeds. And I feel like it really does capture dog energy. And this one and the Mystical Cats, I just feel like they're very cohesive. The art style, even though two different artists made them, I feel like the art style works well, looks kind of similar-ish in both of them. And so I feel like I could do a reading for a client who had a dog and a cat, for example. I don't get those kinds of questions very often, I'll be honest, but I have had them happen before, and having these has been really handy. So I like having it. Again, I think if I wanted to do a reading about my dogs, I would use this deck, and I wouldn't be sad that my specific dogs aren't in this deck, because it feels like it still does what it needs to do without having to be about any specific dog. I hope that makes sense. So I really, really enjoy it. And the Magical Dogs Tarot right now on Amazon is going for about, I think it's about 26 bucks. So about the same price, $25, $26 US for this deck. If you're looking for a great all-rounder dog deck, this one just seems like really good. Very similar guidebook format. Again, we've come to expect a certain thing from Llewellyn decks, and I feel like this definitely falls into that same expectation without any trouble whatsoever. So that is the Magical Dogs Tarot. So the next one is another tinned deck. Now I really wanted to focus on sort of animal and nature-y decks for this particular Mass Market Madness. I feel like I can't talk about nature and animal decks without talking about the Wild Unknown Tarot. And this little pocket Wild Unknown that came out is such a delightful little treasure. I adore it. And if you're looking for an affordable version of the Wild Unknown, even more than its full-size counterpart, or if you want a tinned deck that's just more something different, unique than a like Rider-Waite-Smith type deck, this is such a fun one to have in this form factor. I wanted to just show you really quickly. You've probably seen the Wild Unknown before, but I just want to show you this deck compared with its full-sized counterpart, because I have both. And just so you can see the size difference, it's so cute. Look at that. But actually, the cards, like these are thinner. These feel a little more buttery in their coating. But like, look how cute this little version is. I just think it's great. And mini decks are also great for larger spreads. But what I thought was really fun about the tin version of the deck is it seems to have the exact same guidebook. So I want to do a quick comparison of that real quick. So the original, or at least the mass market original, Wild Unknown Tarot guidebook looks like this. And you have like a picture on the left, and then you have a short write-up on the right-hand side of on the right page. In the little pocket one, it's like the exact same thing, and I'm pretty sure it is the exact same message. You've got the same keywords, the same picture on the left side of the page, and the same paragraph, only it's typed instead of handwritten here, probably just because the font is smaller and it needs to be easy to read, but it literally is the exact same text. So you have everything that you would normally have in this big kit, but in this tiny little form factor, and it's delightful. I love mini things though, and they make me happy. So that is super cute. And this is a great reading deck. I do think it takes some time to befriend and get to know, but I think if you take the time to get to know this deck, you'll find that it's more than it seems, and that the use of color that has been so carefully applied has more meaning than maybe it seems at first. Sometimes just by the line work, the direction they're going, you get a feeling. And I love how it's done. I can't explain it because I'm not well versed. I love this change to the Justice card. I think that's beautiful. I think this is one of my favorite Nine of Cups of all time, and yet it's so simple in how it's illustrated. I really enjoy this deck, and I did trade away my full-size version for a time, but I came to miss it, and I ended up getting it back. And then I ended up getting this little mini version. Even cards like this that seem so simple actually mean a lot to me, just the way that the lines go in this 90-degree angle to one another. It may seem confusing at first, but in my opinion, it's worth a try. And this is such an affordable little deck. So currently on Amazon, this one is going for $12.99 US, which is a steal. Now, it's not the most like luxurious feeling cardstock ever, but it actually, I've shuffled mine a bunch and it's held up perfectly fine. So I don't have any complaints about the cardstock. It might feel a little papery. It doesn't feel like it's got like a strong core. You can kind of see if I let the cards relax. Some of my cards have a little bit of a bend. I think it's fine. For $12.99, I think that's an amazing little deck, and I think it's worth it if you like the Wild Unknown, or if you're looking for a pretty simple tarot in a tin, especially one with a decent little guidebook that you can card around. Like, what a fun little set that is. It would also make probably a great gift, but I think that's adorable. And I've definitely used this already in some larger spreads and had a great time with it. And that brings us to, I guess, kind of the star of the show. This is my newest love from the mass market that I've just, like, I'm head over heels. And I didn't expect it because I actually originally thought I was going to be trading this deck away. This is the Seed and Sickle Oracle. This is by Papez Inkwright, and it's published by Liminal 11. It actually comes with 2 guidebooks, but I really love, in particular, working with the Dusk guidebook. Each one of these has a slightly different focus. So the Dusk guidebook, I think, is very introspective, kind of personal growth themed, whereas the Dawn guidebook feels like it's a little bit more predictive, definitely a little bit more around the idea of starting new projects, kind of beginning things, much like you would think that Dawn energy is about starting something, and Dusk energy would be about reflection. That's kind of how these guidebooks they feel. So I like to keep the Dusk guidebook with my deck, and this is actually, it's just really, it surprised me. When it comes to plant and floral kind of based decks, I find that I'm really drawn to decks that have keywords on them, but this artwork is really especially stunning. And it's one of those ones, it's got a number and a plant name on it. But I can't imagine working with this deck without the guidebook anyway. So to me, I don't really I don't feel the lack of keywords on this deck because I so enjoy working with the guidebook. I will say, if it had keywords, it would just knock it out of the park for me. But I understand why it doesn't. And I also understand that this artwork really is more than meets the eye. You can see something is happening. For example, in this oak card with the lightning bolt. You start to get a feeling for what this holly card might be about by just the way that the art is depicted. You get a feeling for the message. So the more that you work with it, the more those messages start to become memorable through a combination of the artwork and the guide and what's happening in the guidebook. So I've just really, really enjoyed this. And again, I had this in my trade pile. I was ready to let it go. And then I pulled it out to work with the Pacific Northwest Tarot, which is an independent deck. And this worked so beautifully with that tarot that I just fell in love with it that way. And then I worked with it and I didn't want to put it down. I was getting really meaningful messages from the guidebook. It's really well done, super gorgeous. This is it feels like an indie deck. It feels like an independent deck, but it's not. It's a mass market. It's readily available, and it's an affordable price. So currently on Amazon.com, the Seed and Sickle deck is going for about $20, $21, something like that. So really just such a fun find. I love this deck, and I definitely recommend it. You can also purchase a much fancier, like, independent version of this deck from Liminal 11 directly. They're based in the UK, and you can get like a gilded version, and it has a little bonus extra oracle deck called the Citadel. It's the only way you can get the Citadel as far as I know. So that's something you could do as well. But I like that they have this great mass market version. And to be honest, this is the version that I prefer because I don't really like gilding. So at least it depends. It depends on the cardstock. But on this one, I prefer it without the gilding. And this is just a great little oracle deck. So these are my top picks for my nature and animal mass market decks that I want to recommend in this specific moment. If you have a favorite mass market or affordable tarot and oracle deck that you want to mention, please do share with us in the comments down below. Love to hear more recommendations for others because there, again, are some wonderful, wonderful mass market decks out there, and I definitely want to make sure and share about those as I can. So I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please be sure and click the like button if you enjoyed this video or you found value in it. Subscribe if you're new here, and don't forget to click that little notification bell so you're notified of all my future videos and live streams. All of those things really help the channel so much, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much, and may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye, guys!